Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another amazing episode here at Bloom. I'm so happy that you all are able to join us today for us to witness our next guest. You know, this platform, for anyone that's new and has not seen our shows before, this platform is here to showcase some amazing women and allow them to be able to share their story with you in hopes that it will inspire you and motivate you and just hope to help you achieve your next goals, whatever chapter of life that you're currently in. Our next guest, Cindy Small, is a journalist, cancer survivor. She's an artist. She's an amazing, amazing woman with a great sense of humor and wit. And she has an amazing, very powerful story that I'm so excited to share with you all. And let's just go ahead and bring her out. Hi, Cindy.
Hi, Zakia. Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you here today. How are you doing today?
Fine. I'm looking very forward to this.
I am too. You know, a mutual friend of ours actually connected us together. And I'm so happy that she did because I've been reading all of your amazing work you've written for Huntsville Times, as well as Unconditionally Her. And you have some amazing articles that really help to inspire people and motivate them. And I just felt so touched and moved by you sharing your story. And it's just a pleasure to have you on here today. So for people who may not be familiar with you or your work, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what is your story? That's my favorite question to ask people. What is your story? It's the thing that we sometimes don't get when we actually see people in our day-to-day lives.
Well, my story, it started off very unusual, but the what I got from it helped me survive all the different issues that came at me in life. I'm a first-generation American. My family is from Vienna, Austria, and they arrived in New Orleans in the early 40s. They taught me tremendous survivor skills, but the survivor skills were done in a very odd way. They spoke no English. Their suitcases were empty, and they sold little wind-up dolls on the streets of New Orleans. But somehow they got the idea that opening a woman's lingerie store in the center of New Orleans could be a very profitable idea. And it became very, very well known. What it taught me was, as a child, I was around every type of character imaginable, and New Orleans is filled with them. It's a magical town. There's just everything is very different there. So I worked after school every day in this French risque lingerie store, and I would deliver merchandise to the burlesque dancers, the drag queens, all of the people in the French Quarter. And I was like 7 years old. And I loved them. They became my friends. And I looked at the world not through Play-Doh and hula hoops, but through looking at people that were so different. And as a result, it made me an extremely curious, open-minded person, but a person with survivor skills, because it was all so different for me.
Wow. I think that's absolutely amazing. And I can totally relate to what you're saying because originally I lived in New York City. That's where the majority of my family is. So I can totally relate to the experience of being able to be surrounded by people from, you know, just different ways of life. And somehow it just all comes together because the foundation should be also on love and respect.
Yes.
And that's it, you know, so I totally can definitely relate to that. And I think that's absolutely beautiful. So what brought you here to Huntsville, Alabama?
Well, I wish I could say I made reservations and came here, but I blew here. Hurricane Katrina, where I lived for 50 years and never lived anywhere else, finally experienced the big one. And my spouse and my dogs jumped in the car, and we fled to New Orleans, but it took a few months because we couldn't get into our zip code right away. And
Oh,
so we had to stay in parking lots and different motels until we could get into our home to see what was going on. And along with three very burly brother-in-laws, we went to my very mold-soaked home. It was a war zone. The air
mm,
was gray. There was nothing green whatsoever. And there wasn't a bird in the sky. And the best part, or I should say the worst part about it, was that with no street signs and all houses being damaged and in a rubble, even I didn't know where I was. I couldn't even
oh,
get around because it's like a Steven Spielberg movie. It was historical. And we went, and once we had nothing left, I had in-laws that lived here in Alabama, and it was the only option in town. So I arrived, and I was like an alien. When you go
mm,
from New Orleans to Alabama, it is a hugely different culture. And it was a very humbling experience for me, and a lot to get used to because I did lose everything. The toothpaste that I got
mm.
in the Red Cross line reminded me of my toothpaste that was underwater in my house.
Ah,
So losing your identity is huge. It's huge. You have to
wow.
recreate yourself.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, that absolutely feels very challenging. How did you pick up the pieces to actually, like you said, recreate your identity and refine like who you were or
Well,
redefine who you are?
the funny thing about that is when you have a clean slate all of a sudden, and you have the ability, because it's a curse and a blessing, you have the ability to be whoever you want to be all
That's
of a
true.
sudden. And of course, the city is very different. And I can't walk in here ordering, lox, bagel, and cream cheese, but I still knew that I had to kick in and put my big girl pants on and make things work.
Yeah.
So for me, it took a while. It took a long while. But I will say that the people of North Alabama were so kind to me and so gracious. And I was just known as a Katrina survivor, and they did everything for me, everything they could possibly do.
Mm,
I had phone calls coming in. People wanted to know if I needed pots and pans. I mean, the community was lovely. So you got to look at the
wow.
good that comes out of things. Although I did have a lot of nightmares having to go back to the city many, many times to pick up the pieces.
Wow.
Yeah.
I shared with you recently, I'm telling you, you have such an amazing story. And I know I shared with you recently that I was in your hometown. My family and I were in New Orleans for a few days last week.
Right.
Have you been home recently?
I not recently, it's been a few years. It makes
Okay.
me very sad to go home because
Mm,
so much has changed, and I used to love the old and the rusty and the architecture, the original architecture, and many things have been replaced in a
yeah.
modern way, and that's just not who I am. So it's sad. It is sad.
Oh,
Yeah. But you know what? There's always that oyster poor boy. There's always that gumbo, and the food is
yes.
out of this world.
The food is out of this world. For anyone watching today, if you've never been to New Orleans, you have got to go. And I'm sure Cindy will have a ton of recommendations on food
Yeah.
that you can dine at there. I have to ask you though. So when we originally went there, we've always been told that Cafe Du Monde is the best place to get beignets, but we also had some at Cafe Beignet.
Mhm,
Which
mhm.
one do you prefer?
I grew up with Cafe Du Monde. That's kind of my thing. The only thing I can tell you is if you buy a box of that mix and you bring it home, you'll never be able to duplicate it.
I
It's just
know.
It's something about the water, it's something about the touch of the cooks, but you got to eat it there.
Yes, so true. Because I ordered a box prior to going to New Orleans, and I thought I was doing something. And then we went to New Orleans, and that box was still in my refrigerator. I don't think I'm going to touch it anymore.
It's so generic. It's not the same. No,
Yes.
no. But in New Orleans, you can go in a diner and you can be in the worst area of town and have a fabulous meal.
Yes.
And you can't escape it. The food is out of this world.
Oh, it really, really, really
Yeah.
is. Really
Yeah.
is. So somewhere throughout your journey, you've had a life-changing event as well.
Yeah, I did. You mean after Katrina,
After
right?
Katrina,
After
yes.
Katrina. Yeah, Katrina was 2005, and I was lucky enough to find work after 6 months at UAH, where I will say nothing but praises to them. As we get into the story and I tell you how sick I was, these
Mm.
people were like family to me. They were so wonderful and so good. But anyway, I woke up one morning and I'm a very healthy person. I always belonged to a gym and I always ate healthy. And it kills me that I should have been eating Krispy Kreme donuts instead of kale smoothies, period. Because
Oh,
I'm telling you, being healthy didn't help me at all in terms of getting a very deadly form of cancer.
oh
It
wow.
you know I'm a great believer though that in being healthy gave me the padding that I needed to recover. Because if I wasn't a healthy person, the recovery period I think would have been much worse.
Wow. Okay.
The way you treat your body is so important. But anyway, out of the blue, I woke up with a pain in my side, thought it was appendicitis, went to my doctor. He did a CAT scan. He saw me 20 minutes later. He came in the room, he looked at me, and he said, "You have ovarian cancer, and your tumor is the size of a cantaloupe."
Oh
And
my goodness.
I was in shock. I couldn't speak. I couldn't believe that with the lifestyle I was leading, that this could be. I couldn't believe it. And
Yeah.
I never missed a checkup appointment. I never did any of that. Anyway, the bad news was I had about 48 hours to get myself to a surgeon. And with my spouse's help, and a lot of research in a short amount of time, we found a surgeon, a woman who specialized in ovarian cancer at MD Anderson in Houston.
Hmm.
So we boarded our dogs, we packed everything as quickly as we could, we drove to Houston, and quickly I had an appointment with this fabulous, miraculous woman who saved my life.
Hmm.
And I had to have surgery right away because if I did not, those cells would have found their way into my pelvic region, my abdominal region. And I came to the realization that I got to fight for my life right now. I got to pull out the big guns and go
Yes.
back to those survival skills that I had as a child because everything was going to come in handy right now at that point in time.
I
So, yeah,
bet. Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
it was
I
terrifying.
can't imagine, what thoughts went through your head when you were in the hospital, just, hearing the results. I mean, that seems like, hearing news like that would just, shake you to your core.
Core. The thing that calmed me was first I knew I was in the hands, I thought, of the best place possible. People from all
Good.
over the world go there. And I knew I had a wonderful doctor. So no matter what happened, I knew I could be calm and I was going to be okay. And if it didn't work out, I also felt like, you know what? I have had a really colorful life and
Mm.
I'm ready to now move on and get into another life, it's going to be even more colorful.
Mm.
I was quite a survivor, and made myself float through everywhere, everything I had to do to get through that time. And I was there a long time. Yeah.
Do you credit your parents for your strength that you received during the most challenging times of your life?
No, I really don't. I
Okay.
mean, I have to be honest. They were not healthy people. They were very driven. They were business minded. They worked 18 hours a day. And I don't know where I came from. I just don't know. I have to think I was adopted because I was completely the opposite. And no, I don't credit them. I don't credit myself for much, but I credit myself for being an incredibly strong, assertive person who
Good.
is a survivor in every way. Yeah, I
Oh,
do.
that is just so powerful. And for people watching, thank you for Barbara for joining us today. I think what's also beautiful about what you're saying is that you lived a very bold and big, colorful life. And a lot of times people, restrict themselves from experiencing true happiness because they allow fears to get in their way. And hearing stories like the one that you're sharing really reminds us of how important it is to just live your life and just be full in happiness and joy. And I just think that's wonderful that that's how you've always lived your life. And I'm sure that you've, amped it up a couple of notches since
Oh,
then
yeah.
too.
Well, the interesting part is cancer amps it up. Cancer
Yeah.
brings you to your very authentic self because what do you have to
Mm.
lose? I mean, really. And it
Mm.
made me, my tolerance level is not, where it used to be. I'm very out there and I'm very open about everything that has ever happened. And cancer brought me to a place where I bring honesty with me no matter what. And my feeling
Mm.
is you have to spring clean your life of negativity. And
Ooh.
oh yeah, and cancer and a hurricane, if that doesn't spring clean it, I don't know what will.
Oh, wow. Okay, so I want to touch on that. Before we do, I want to welcome Shayna to the discussion. Thank you for joining us. Julie says she's tuning in from Decatur at work. We won't tell anybody, Julie. Thanks for joining us. And thank you also, Amanda. She's viewing in from Lenox, Massachusetts. Welcome, welcome all. Oh, Julie says Cindy is a rock star. She is an inspiration. I love that. She sure is.
That's so very sweet. I appreciate that more than ever. Thank
Oh.
you. Thank you.
Oh, I want to ask you. You just touched on something I think is very important. So you said you did spring cleaning. You removed negativity from your life. Can you
Yes,
talk to us about what that process was like? Because
sure.
I've read a few books that says pay attention to your energy and how you feel when you're around certain groups of people. So can you
Yeah.
tell us how you actually went through that process and what that was like for you?
Right. Well, the process really hit me hard right after my diagnosis because it's very interesting. People do not all people want to hang around with the poster child for cancer, meaning me.
Hmm. Hmm.
They would like you to come over, have a drink or three, let's party a little, let's look at a movie, and most of all, don't drop dead on their sofa. You gotta be careful. So
Yeah.
I didn't have the energy. There was simply no way. And I lost many, many friends. I think it was a combination of them being
Mm.
scared of being around someone so sick. But
Mm.
I also learned that quality in friends, even if I can only count them on one hand, is so much more important than having a huge fan base. I the people I have in my life are kind and caring and brave.
Mm.
And so that means everything to me. But it amazed me too how many people I lost because I couldn't go out and I couldn't do those adventurous things. I was home for a long time, and I tried to go to work. I worked 40% out of every day at times, not all the time, but that was where the love and the caring came in. I had professors coming in with a futon. I had the students that always were asking me how I felt. I even had someone put caution tape around me so that in case a sick student came in, they would know not to come close. And it was
Mm,
just, I could never ask for anything more because I don't have siblings. I don't have family. And
mm.
I will say that I will never forget how beautiful they were to me and how wonderful.
Oh,
And also I'll throw in the fact that the cancer center in Huntsville was my family and still is. I have to go every few months. I have to get scans. I have to get blood work. They are wonderful to me.
oh,
So, you know, these are special human beings that I'll always remember.
that
Yeah.
is that is absolutely beautiful. I've heard that unfortunately many times that when someone goes through trials and tribulations, especially related to health, that sometimes people just don't know, what to do. So can you give some advice to people who may have someone dear to them that is sick or is struggling with something in their life? How can they approach that person to be of service or help out in some kind of way? What did you need from a select group of people most during that time?
It was the simple things.
Mm-hmm.
I had a very dear friend who would make me bone broth, for example. I had a very dear friend who would come over with a box of art supplies. These weren't anything huge, these things,
Yeah.
but they meant everything to me. I didn't want pity parties. I didn't want
Mm-hmm.
anybody calling me saying, "I can't believe you are on chemo. Don't you know that's going to kill you?" Yeah, it's poison and it's going to kill you and it could kill you, but it didn't kill me. And I do have to live with the after effects, and those are really not good. But you have choices in life. Do
Yeah.
you want to deal with those after effects or do you want to go to your sweet rewards? For me, because I am such a strong person, the after effects were just fine, but they're not pretty at
Yeah.
all. Yeah, they
Yeah.
really aren't. A lot of people do not understand that chemo brain is a real thing. And
Hmm.
it is such a real thing. Any surgeon, any cancer surgeon will tell you that. I go everywhere with Post-it notes. I don't remember anything. It's not dementia. It isn't anything like that. It's almost like being in a fog, but you learn to compartmentalize it as I did when I was working. And a lot of people probably didn't even know that I was dealing with that. But you have to have those tools.
Wow.
You have to. Yeah.
Wow.
It's not
Oh,
easy.
I bet. For a lot of people that don't know me personally, I've shared with you, Cindy, that I lost my dad in 2019 to cancer also. And just witnessing everything that he was going through, during that time, it just, I can't imagine being in that actual seat. So I just want to encourage people to just, if you know someone that's having any type of struggle or challenge in life, just take the advice that Cindy shared and just try to support them and show up in their life as best as possible. And like she said, remember the little things are what matters the most, because people really do need us to show up as their superhero during, challenging times.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, the last thing you want is someone to hold your hand and say, "Well, you're not going to be around long, but you're such a great person." You know, I don't need to hear that.
Right. No.
So really, you have to shut negativity away. You must.
Mm-hmm.
And because if not, you'll be in the black hole of Calcutta. You don't want to be
Mm-hmm.
there. You're
Mm.
you are your own best friend.
Yes, I
You
do
have
believe
to
that.
be.
I
Yeah.
believe that. And for a lot of people who haven't even had, a health scare, This pandemic has hopefully shown people, their true sides to friendship, or who's going to really be there for them during this time. The people who call and make sure that their mental health is up to par. And, do you need anything? Are you healthy? So even times like this, will reveal true friendship. So Julie just said, working with Cindy during some of her battle was an inspiration to me. She helped me make some hard choices in my life about realizing what really mattered. Wow.
Oh,
That's such a
I'm giving
gift.
her a big hug right through the screen.
Oh.
She's a wonderful, wonderful woman. I learned a lot from her as well. Yes,
Oh, that's
yes,
so sweet.
I did.
Cindy, you do a lot of writing also for Huntsville Times and other publications online, Unconditionally Her. And I also want to change the trajectory of the conversation just a little bit and ask you, how is being confident in your physical self connected, or, to your mental state? How has it enhanced your mental state as well?
Well, it depends what time frame you look at. My physical self was pretty scary for a few years. I could barely look in the mirror. I could only concentrate on my mental self. I saw hollowed out eyes. I saw no eyelashes. I was bald. So I had to search deep within to my mental state in order to survive. And I'm very self-deprecating by nature, and I like to make laughter out of a train wreck of a life like mine. So I only want to throw out to you that the one thing I did to keep my head above water was because I felt so terrible about my physical self, I would wear gigantic, huge turbans to work. And I didn't want to wear a baseball cap. I wanted to be out there. And these
Mm.
turbans were made of batik African fabric, and they were really, really incredible. The students laughed. They had a great time with it. And I felt like I was sick chic. And
Yes.
so it really helped me to be different and to be authentic. Yeah.
Sick chic. I love that. I mean, we might have to hashtag that, sick chic. I really do believe there is, regardless of how you feel, physically at that time, putting on an outfit that energizes you, putting on red lipstick, like the color you're wearing now, it is so fierce. Putting on a little bit of blush and makeup, doing your hair really, to me, changes your entire mood. So I love that. I think positive energy can have an impact on all of our lives on a day-to-day basis. So I love that you said that, sick chic.
Yeah, that's pretty much, what it is. Because I am all about women having confidence, and they don't have to worry so much about their bodies. It's about staying healthy. It's not about a dress size. And when you get really sick, you realize it's truly what's inside that counts in a human being. It's
Absolutely.
intellect and wisdom, and not a gorgeous figure.
Oh, absolutely. So what is that exactly? What does body confidence mean to you? And is it synonymous with body positivity?
I just think that women need to be on alert to push against criticism. You can't
Mm,
allow that in your body. We all have an expiration date, and our bodies are just not going to remain strong. I don't care what you do, you can do and do, but look, we're all going to be gone at some point in time. But I think health is the number one point.
yeah.
Keep your refrigerator full of healthy food. Keep your body moving as best you can. I'm all about moderation. I don't
Hmm.
think you have to knock yourself out and look like 27 years old. I personally don't get it. And you have to have self-love. That is the most important
Yeah.
thing. You gotta love yourself. You got
Yeah,
to.
I totally agree with you. You know, a lot of times we get upset about the things that other people say to us, and we forget to acknowledge the conversation that we're having with ourselves. So yeah, speaking positively to ourselves, you know, celebrating our bodies for all the powerful and many things that it can do, I think it's extremely important.
Absolutely. That's how I feel. You know, I don't even like the word plus size in a dress store. I think that the media doesn't allow women to be who they are, unfortunately. You can look at a commercial. I associate this with, let's say, a beautiful woman doing a Tide Pod commercial. She's beautiful and she's doing her laundry. Well, who cares? She only cares about her laundry, and her being beautiful doesn't really matter in the big scope of things. So
Hmm.
I'm all about what's inside, for sure.
Absolutely. We
Yes.
have a question that just came in from Laura. Thank you for joining us today. How did your humor, she wants to know, how did your humor help you most during your difficult times?
Um, well, I uh I started creating voodoo dolls. Having New Orleans in my DNA, I had to do something outrageous. And I make them. And what they are is they are skeleton ladies, but they are full of imperfection, their body parts. They have smeared lipstick, they have blue eyeshadow, outrageous clothing, but the biggest thing that they have are pieces of turban that I wore. So
Oh,
every single one that goes to a new owner gets a piece of me. And I loved making those things. My hot glue gun was in full throttle the whole time, let me tell you. And all
oh,
of the Mardi Gras and New Orleans trinkets that I managed to save would all go on these voodoo dolls. And that is what saved me. That and my writing, those two things. Yes.
oh.
And
But
they make me laugh
and they made you laugh. That's
very much,
beautiful.
very much. Yes.
It sounds like, you know, through adversity, you gained some hidden talent that you didn't know that you had, and some gifts along life as well that you did not know that you had that was nestled deep inside of you.
You're right. You're right. I had no idea. I would never believe if anyone told me I would have been doing this. And
Mm,
it took a life event to bring me to that point. Yes. Yes.
yeah.
That's
I
right.
want to also acknowledge Sean Lott's comment. He said, back to your discussion about plus size. He said, that's very true. There's no men's plus size. That's a good point.
It is. It is a good point. It needs to be totally eliminated as far as I'm concerned. Um, and more natural looking women need to appear because to me, I think that's what we need is just that natural look in what's inside.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I think that goes to show, like you just said about media and magazines, and a lot of times as women, we compare ourselves, our natural bodies, to these images that are on television or on these screens, and a lot of them, majority of them, are all touched up and edited. And you know, I've always wondered how an OBGYN doctor that brings life into this world gets paid far less than a plastic surgeon. I've just
That's so
you know,
true.
I just haven't been able to wrap my head around that as of yet.
I know. I agree with you 1,000%. I don't get it either. And sadly, sometimes some people have to go through huge events in order to come to the conclusion that they don't need to work so hard on the outside. There's a whole lot of other things that need to be fixed inside.
Oh,
So,
yeah, definitely. So, what do
yeah.
you think? What do you think causes people to develop a negative relationship with their bodies in the first place? Other than, I'm sure media is one of the big
Well,
ones.
everyone grows up in a different way. Well, due to my childhood, it would be okay to have a couple of hot beignets for breakfast, and that will make you a chubby little thing. So, I was a chubby little thing, and with that came a whole lot of bullying.
Mm,
And I had to fight that within myself. And people can be mean, not just children, but people, they can be. And that's the part where you have just got to be thankful and loving yourself and embrace yourself and be. I can go out in my backyard and hear the birds, and I am so at peace. I can pet my
mm,
dog and my blood pressure goes down. It's just, there's so much more than to being critical. And I personally stay far, far away from critical people. I don't need it. I
mm.
don't want it. The negativity. It's not important. No.
I love that. You know, I have a 7-year-old daughter. We have a 3-year-old as well, and I plan to do the same thing when he gets older. But what I started doing with my daughter is I would take sticky notes and put it on her mirror and just write positive affirmations and have her start going through it. So I am strong, I am beautiful, I am confident.
Right.
And I think things like that are things that even people like us who may have experienced bullying or some type of pain through our childhood or even adulthood that has triggered us and hurt us and caused us pain, maybe things like that, to replace the negative thoughts with positive affirmations daily in hopes to rebuild ourselves. So I'm very proud of where she is in life, and I think that's something that we can all practice.
That's great what you're doing. I agree with you 100%. Yes. Yes, absolutely. Um, there's one little story I want to tell you real quick. I promise.
Sure.
Just because to me it's funny, to some it could be absolutely mortifying. After my second dose of chemo, and I could get around a little bit, not much, I went into a thrift store and I wanted to try a sweater on. So I went in the ladies' room and I tried it on and I took it off and I looked down and my entire head of hair was on the floor.
Oh.
Now, it sounds sad, but it actually was really funny to me because, your hair's supposed to fall out in patches or pieces, um, but not the whole 9 yards. So, for whatever reason, it just struck me as funny. Like, this could only happen to me. How much worse can it get? So I did laugh all the way to my car, and I hate to say it, but I felt so bad about the ladies that found the huge wad of hair in the dressing room. Anyway, you don't know what's going to happen is my point.
I have a question though. Did you tell them before you left, or?
No. I was shocked. I was in a state of shock because it was the first
I'm
time
sure.
I looked in the mirror and saw myself with absolutely no hair. So I just couldn't even think straight.
Of
But it
course.
really was funny afterwards. At least to me it was. Might as well get rid of it all at the same time. That
I
way
know that's
I
right.
didn't have to wait for little pieces.
Yes. I
So
just love your perspective. This is so awesome. And I loved your turbans. I mean, if people are on our Bloom Facebook page, you can see the photos of Cindy with her turbans on. I'm like, I just think they're stunning. I wear turbans, even
I,
just, silk lace turbans around the house. It's just a norm to me anyway. But I just think they were just beautiful. And I think that you incorporated fashion in a wonderful way throughout your journey. So kudos to you.
I appreciate it. It really wasn't about fashion. It was just about having fun and making
Yeah.
it through. That was
Yeah.
what it was about. But, you do what you got to do.
So I have to ask you, do you think, are we our worst enemy when it comes to negative body perception?
Yeah, I think we are, but I think other people can also play a part. If you surround yourself with people that bully you and
Mm,
criticize you, that to me, that's also an enemy.
yeah.
And and it's not so easy to say, Oh, they don't know what they're talking about. I'm just wonderful. It's not that easy. Even I was absorbing it. I mean, when I was this chubby little child walking around, eating the best New Orleans food, getting bigger by the minute, people were criticizing me. But somehow I didn't have resentment, but I cut them off. I cut
Yeah.
that off because you have to. You can't believe what other people say, or you will once again fall in that black hole.
Oh.
Can't do it. Can't
You
do
know,
it.
I couldn't agree with you more. And through my conversations with a lot of people, I've noticed that it's so easy. Well, it's easier to cut off people who bully you when they are friends or associates, but a lot of times it's their family that speak negativity over them,
Yeah.
and things like that. So, do you have any insight to share on how people should handle situations like that with family members as well?
Well, you're asking someone who's really assertive. So I don't know that my
Become
advice is
assertive.
I don't know if my advice is so good. You know, uh, I'm one to be very upfront and say what you're doing is wrong. You're hurting my feelings, and I really don't want you to go
Mhm.
there anymore. But sometimes you can't make people say that. They just allow themselves to be hurt and disrespected, and I don't get it, and I can't help them other than say you just you have to be a little narcissistic. You have to think about yourself. You have
Yes.
to, because no one else is going to do it. And so I'm one to think that you got to be number one. You just have to be, and you can't let other people dictate your path. You just can't.
Yes.
No way. No. But
No, I love that advice. I have that's an area that I've struggled with personally. If any, I don't know if anyone else that's watching can relate. But we had a life coach on a few previous episodes, and we had a discussion on speaking your truth. And if something bothers you, feeling okay to speak it and say it like you just said. You're hurting my feelings. That's not okay,
yeah,
and not feeling that you are responsible for the other person's reaction or emotion. So for me, that took a huge weight off my shoulders just to realize that, because a lot of times when we speak, we stop thinking about just ourselves and we think about how what I say is going to make the other person feel. And you walk away from a conversation feeling betrayed. Um,
yes. Yes,
yeah,
you're so right. I'd rather walk away feeling like a warrior and like am not going to allow this to seep through me. Um, that's the way. And if you lose that person, that's the way it goes. Again, it's quality, not quantity, in the people you
there you
have
go.
around. Yeah,
Absolutely. I love
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
It is.
I believe we have a picture also for anyone who wants to see one of your
Yeah.
beautiful turbans. I just love it. Canary yellow is like one of my favorite colors. It's just so vibrant. And this kind of gives me that canary yellow color. And I just think it's absolutely beautiful. And there you are with your red power lipstick once again.
Yeah, and my cup of caffeine, because God knows I needed that. But sometimes I could get really brave and throw brooches on those turbans, and I don't think Alabama was ready, but it's okay. It got me through.
They better get ready, because we're going to have and welcome many people just like you. And I am loving your energy. So, yep, we'll
Thank
help them
you.
progress. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, how do you personally deal with stress?
I write. I love writing, and there's two things. I am lucky enough to do personal stories on NPR WLRH, and they're on every few months. They're all stories about my life. They're nonfiction. They're the real deal. And again, I'm turning the train wreck of my life inside out, and I'm
Mm.
producing a lot of laughter. I think some people get a kick out of it, and some people probably think I am absolutely certifiable. But I love doing it. I'm hoping I'm opening eyes and minds, and that's why I do it. So that is a terrific release. And then the other release is writing for this magazine. It's a women-focused magazine that allows me to write about anything I want. And I always write very controversial topics. I like that. For example, in May, I wrote a topic on why some people do not have to feel forced to celebrate Mother's Day. You know, we
Mm.
have people in this world that are not from a Hallmark card. And I want to address those people that have a lot going on. And it may not be average and it may not be normal. So my editor allows me to pick my topics, and I absolutely love writing those. It's a once a month publication, and it's great for me mentally. Yes.
I think that's absolutely amazing. And for anyone who would like to go to the website, it's Unconditionally Her, and you can see many articles that Sydney writes on this amazing website. I've read several myself, and I found them to be delightful, very informative. And like you said, a lot of the topics may open up your mind to a different perspective. And I think that is extremely important. A few years ago when I traveled here to Huntsville, I started thinking to myself, I need more of a diverse group of people around me. Everyone is starting to have the same perspective, looks the same, and I want diversity amongst all of my conversations. And so I am one person that is always open to hearing someone else's perspective, and it's an opportunity to grow. So it's an opportunity to grow. So I just love that you're doing this, and I will continue to be a reader and a follower of
Oh,
all of your amazing articles. I'm so happy that Gail introduced us.
yes.
So I want to also ask you, do you have any advice for someone who's experiencing a health scare now?
Well, um, e- it comes when you least expect it. Um, You just have to believe that things are going to work out, but there's gonna be pain, and it could be pain like you've never had in your entire life. You
Mm.
must be strong. You can't sit home with a remote in your hand and a house dress on and look at TV, because if you do that, you will have cement shoes. And for me, even if I have nowhere to go, I get dressed in the morning. I don't get dressed up, but I mean, I get dressed and I do something, but
Mm.
you can't vegetate. You just can't. You got to move on and try to just be as positive as you can. I promise that if you find positive people, you can't get that in a medicine bottle. And
Absolutely.
and that's, I volunteer at the cancer center, and I love the cancer patients because we're all a part of a cult, and we don't know how long we're going to be here, but we really do encourage each other. And so I highly advise people not to put those cement shoes on and go.
And go. That is
Yeah,
fantastic
go.
advice.
Right, right.
Be strong. Don't wear cement shoes.
Right. Go. I don't care if you have to go to Publix and pick out vegetables. Just go be among the human race, because that,
Mm.
animals are wonderful too. Animals and people, and it's a must to be around that. I never get enough of it. Never.
Mm. I
So,
love it. Recognizing that the things in life that bring you joy and constantly, like you said, welcoming those things around you, especially when you're going through challenging times, can help you make the quickest change to get back on the road to happiness and joy. So I love that you're sharing that advice today. I wholeheartedly believe that. And you're speaking from experience too. So
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Every day is still a new day for me. I'm not there yet. And, but I'm moving along and making it work and throwing those voodoo dolls out there and hoping for good, loving, positive energy.
absolutely. You're going to receive it. I know you are because you're giving it back to the universe. And I'm so grateful. It's so amazing. We have been on this call or this video chat for about 45 minutes. I feel like I could talk to you forever because you have such great energy and advice and wisdom.
Yes.
I always welcome wisdom into my life. And I am eternally grateful that you took the opportunity to sit down with us and share your story. Miss Cindy, you are amazing. You are a gem in this world. I'm so proud and happy to know you. Can you please leave, you have any final messages, and can you also share with our audience how they can stay in contact with you, and also if they have any questions or inquiries about your voodoo dolls as well?
Sure, sure. I'll be glad to give my email address. It is csmall223 at AOL.com. And I'm very easy to find on Etsy. All you have to do is look under Crew of Oddities, and it's KREWE of Oddities, all one word. And there's a store in Decatur called Urban Atlas that does sell my things. And I'm easy to find, and I love to reach out. So do not hesitate to contact me.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure to have you on today. I am eternally grateful for you. And we wish you nothing but the very best. And don't be a stranger to us here at Bloom. Pop on in if you have another story that you would like to share with our audience. We welcome you 100%. So, and thank you as well to anyone who tuned in today. Julie, Amanda, Shayna, LaBarbara. Thank you, everyone who tuned in. If you have any questions or would like to join us for any future episodes, please don't forget to like our page and follow. You'll receive all notifications for all of our new episodes. We go live every Monday at 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, with amazing stories from amazing, powerful, uplifting women every single week, so we can all bloom together. This was an absolute joy. I thank you all, and we will see you soon.
You're the best.
Oh, you are.
Thank you. You're the best. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. We'll be in touch. Thank you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.